Hey, group fitness instructors, yoga teachers, anybody that creates a playlist for classes where certain tracks need to hit at a certain point in your class. And oftentimes you're having to cue the next track because you're done with a previous section and the song would still play on, but you need to move on. Here's a great way to help you stay organized. And here's a great way that if you come back to this playlist 6 months from now, you're going to know where every track was supposed to hit in your class. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I've got my warm-up spacer track. It lets me know that Chestnuts is my warm-up track. Sun A, I've got High You Are. Doing some core work, Double Dutch. And this goes on throughout the format of my class. Now, in this particular example, these spacer tracks do not have any time. They're literally a fraction of a second because I want these music tracks to blend seamlessly. So it's going to skip right past these. There's a way to do it where I could have these spacer tracks be a minute long. I'll show you how to do that as well. It all follows the same techniques. Let's see how to make this work. Now, before we get started, you need to be using Spotify, you need to be using iTunes, and you need to have a smart device. I'm pretty sure this should translate whether you're using Windows or iOS. I only use iOS, and I'm not an expert in this field. I just have made it work for me, and I hope that this helps you as well. So we're going to go to the top left, Spotify, hit Settings. We'll scroll down, and where it says Your Library, Show Local Files, we're going to turn that switch on until it's green. And then we should see that it's sharing our My Music. That's where our iTunes folder is. Once that's set, we're ready to move on. Let's go to the Finder, and you're going to see that I've created a folder that has folders inside. Double click that. One says Markers Only, and the other one says Minute Spacers. The Markers Only is literally just that fraction of a second marker that will let your tracks seamlessly blend into one another. And the minute spacers are going to be a minute of silence. Again, the principles are the same. Let's open up my Markers Only. I'm going to select this first file, click Return, click O1 Warm Up, and then hit Return again to commit to the changes. Now, holding Command and clicking the letter D, that will create a duplicate. I'm going to click Return, O2, Sun A. Hitting Command D to duplicate, click again, O3, Core, Juicer. And I would continue to do this for all the tracks that I need in my playlist. You can see that I've already done that here. So I'm going to click on that first track, hold Shift, click down on the last track to select all of the tracks, and then let's open iTunes. Once iTunes is open, on the left, right-click New Playlist, and then I'm going to call this Warrior Place Markers. This will be a name that's appropriate for your class. We'll open up that playlist. Before we import our files, just double check this setting with me. Go up to your music, click Settings, click Files, and then make sure that this button is checked, Copy Files to Music Media Folder when adding to Library. I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to go back to the Finder and then click and drag those files into my playlist. Once the playlist has populated, let's go back to Spotify. We're going to quit Spotify and then reopen it because Spotify won't sniff for new files unless it's been restarted. To stay organized, we're going to create a playlist folder, and we're going to name that folder Warrior Sculpt. And in that, I'm going to create a new playlist, and we're going to call this playlist Warrior Place Markers. Now let's go back to our library. Make sure that you use the drop-down arrow to see your playlist. Scroll down until you see Local Files. And over here on the right, as long as you are set to see title first, these files should show up pretty close to the top of the list since they are numbered. I'm going to click the first file, scroll down, shift-click the last one. I notice there's this file here in the middle. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to command-click it to deselect it. And then make sure that you can see your Warrior Place Markers or whatever you've called it, and we're going to click and drag. This way I always have these files ready to go, and anytime I need to use them, I can then just select them and drag them, which is what I'm about to do. So I clicked on the first track, Shift, click the last track, drag these into, I've got this playlist here that I know needs markers, so I'm going to drop it in. If I scroll to the bottom of that list, I can see the spacer tracks that I've dragged in, and then I would click and drag them to the appropriate place in the list. Now, I've already done that, so let me just open up my original playlist, and you will see, as I showed you at the beginning, all of the place markers are set within my playlist so I know exactly what goes where. Now we need to do one more step, and this is, let me just go back to my Finder window. So as I mentioned before, these minute spacers, you would do the same thing. I would select it, I'd rename it 01 warm up. My caps lock is on. I'm just going to leave it alone. Then I would duplicate it, Command D. I would do the same thing. Click Enter, 02, and then Sun A. And now these tracks would have minute-long spacers. Now Spotify is going to see the names, but these files, if I'm playing these files from my smart device, they're not on my smart device yet. So we need one more step to make sure that we can get them there. Here's how we do that. So let's go back to iTunes. You'll need to make sure your smart device is connected to your iTunes. I'm going to select my iPhone, and then on the top right, I'm going to click Sync Settings. Let's check out our music. You'll want to sync music onto your device, and you'll want to make sure that you only have selected artist, albums, genre, and playlists is what pertains to us. And we're going to click on Playlists here. Now we see our Warrior place markers. We've clicked that. We're going to click Apply. And now what that's doing is it's syncing these tracks into our phone so that if we actually need that track to be a minute of silence, it knows where that track is because it was synced to your iPhone. So now on your iPhone as well, when you play this playlist, if these are minute-long spacers, it's going to play that minute of silence after your tracks. Now, the blank audio files I created myself. You can probably find something similar on the internet. Just find a blank audio file, rename it. But remember, you have to have a physical file on your computer in order for this to work. If you need help with that, let me know in the comments. I could perhaps send you a copy of my generic blank files. Also in the comments, let me know if you thought this video was helpful and consider liking and subscribing to the channel.